Hey YouTube gardeners, I hope everybody's having a great evening. It has been a while since I have posted a video. I have been trying to help my mother find a place to stay. She's been staying here with me and been trying to get her back and forth to work, so I have not had a whole lot of time to do any videos. And I have kind of let the garden go, so it's that time of year anyway when there's not a whole lot going on. There's not a whole lot of harvest left. Um, but I like to call this time of year the bad and the ugly. You know, you've heard of the good, bad, and the ugly. It's from a Clint Eastwood movie. But anyway, this time of year, about all that's left is the bad and the ugly. The good is gone and the good has been harvested. But there are a few things going on in the garden. I just harvested my biggest watermelon of the season and probably my biggest watermelon ever. And of course, I don't even know what kind it is. If you all have been on my channel very long, you know that I plant a lot of things, lose the tag, and then I forget what it is. So anyway, I knew it was a watermelon and it was a good watermelon. So I'm going to take you out here and show you what's going on in the garden. And this could quite possibly be the last garden tour of the season. And so today you're going to get a lot of the bad and the ugly and just a little less of the good. So that's okay, that's how it goes. And then next year, when we start over, we will just have an abundant garden all over again. So let's go. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is my yard corn, is what my husband calls it. One of the dogs had apparently gone over into the garden and got one of the glass gem corn cobs that I had thrown over to the side because it had bug damage or something on it, I don't remember. And they had carried it out here into the yard. And I don't know if you can tell how big it is by my hand or not. It's probably about 2 foot tall. So I'm sure that it will not produce, but I did let it go, thinking that it may produce a couple corn cobs, but I don't think it's going to. But anyway, it's a running joke at my house now. It's my yard corn. The roses are really starting to droop. So you can see the garden is quite the mess this time of year. Most of the plants have a lot of disease. Some of the stuff, like this little cantaloupe right here, that I really thought may mature, has started rotting on the vine. And I don't know if it's just a result of not having enough sunlight through the day. I'm not sure. So the roses, I mean, these flowers here, these are zinnias. The zinnias have done fabulous. All of my zinnias have this year. And all of this is weeds. This was the only part of the garden, the in-ground garden this year, that I did not put that weed fabric. And so the weeds have taken advantage of this area right here. So that little area, and then this little area. But I do have some other things going on that I don't know if it will make it to harvest or not. This is the same kind of watermelon that I harvested about a week ago. More zinnias. This is where I just pulled all of my onions from. I got more onions this year than I ever have. This is all of the, well, this is not all of the honey nut squash. This is honey nut squash. It is a smaller version of butternut, but look at all of the onions. I have a bunch of onions that are out here drying up after they've been harvested. Some of them are shallots and some are onions. I'm excited about those. That's the most onions I've ever done, and this is not all that I've harvested. I've already harvested and eaten a whole bunch of them. Most of the flowers are starting to die back. And that is most definitely the biggest marigold I've ever had. It has literally turned into a bush. And I do not cut those back until as late as possible. And right here is why. Because the bees love the flowers, and so I try not to cut those back I have some potatoes still going on. These are some potatoes that I threw in there kind of late, so I'll probably get 3 to 6 potatoes from that, and that's okay. That's more than I put in it. 2 more watermelons over here. Those watermelons did not do well until literally the end of the season, and then they started going crazy. All of this is weeds up through here, so I've got a lot of work out in the garden to do. These are some zinnias that are just about to die. And all the way up through here are peppers. And even though they look pretty good from here, they're really starting to rot before they get to the point that they are ripe. So I will, as soon as I get the opportunity, I will come out and just cut all of these down. Almost all of this is getting ready to get cut down. Same thing here. All of these peppers, all of these pepper plants. And the only ones that are actually still doing any good are the jalapenos, which is great because I did not get very many jalapenos this year. So they still have several on those, and I'll be able to harvest those. And this is my vanilla basil, no, blue spice basil. And that thing has gone crazy. It literally started off, oh my gosh, I guess probably this high and maybe this big around. And I want you to look at that thing now. It looks like a bush. It is huge. My kale is not doing very well. I could probably cut that back and let it try to grow again now that it's cooled off some. Kale does not usually do well when it's hot. That is one of my vintage wine tomatoes. I thought that tomato vine had died back, and I came out here the other day and I saw that growing, so of course I have to leave it. These are, this vine right here, this is a volunteer tomato that I had that originally came from Sam's Club. I had bought some tomatoes at Sam's Club and loved them, and so I just planted them last year and maybe even the year before, and got this year, and I did not plant it. It grew on its own. The corn is long gone. You can see I've kind of left a mess behind whenever I came out here and harvested it. I need to get out here and do a lot of cleaning up. Those are marigolds, and these are the tomatoes that have still been producing. These are cherry tomatoes. I have Sun Gold and Super Sweet 100, and they have given me tomatoes literally all season. I just picked a good half a basket of those. That is fabulous. This is another volunteer. This was a volunteer sunrise bumblebee, and even though the plant from a distance looks decent, the tomatoes that have been growing on it are spotted, and many of them have places on it like that. So I have not been picking them and eating them from this plant. I'm going to come out and I'm going to trim all of the bad stuff off and see if it will still produce good tomatoes. Now that it's cooler, it may. So that's all that's going on over here in the in-ground garden. I'm going to take you out here and show you my raised beds, and there's just a couple things going on out there. This is some oregano that I started from a little tiny plant, and I just put it in a pot over by the fence, and it has done super well. Same thing with this thyme. It has done super well. So I'll have some of that for Thanksgiving. And the last of my herbs, this is some mint, and it has done super well this year too. But literally all that I have used it for is putting it in my tea here and there. And this thing right here, this is a beautiful flower. I got this from church on Mother's Day. That's what they blessed us with. It has grown like crazy. I'm going to add some flowers to this little area one day. This is just off of the carport right beside of the driveway. It was just a bunch of weeds, and I just added some rock and a fountain that my husband had gotten. I think someone gave it to him, so now if we could just get some flowers over in there in a couple pots, it'd be looking beautiful. Look at those flowers, you guys. The box, you can see, is not nearly as wide as the flowers. Those flowers have literally taken over that bed, and they are just so gorgeous. Those pink zinnias, look at them. Aren't they beautiful? There's some yellow marigolds, more zinnias, and then there is some last minute cosmos that I started very, very late, but it did end up blooming. And then down here are a few strawberries, and those things, you will still come out and find a strawberry here and there. So these are the grapes. They did not produce this year, and they have dwindled down to nothing but a stick. Of course, I did trim it back. There was a couple shoots coming off of it, and I hope that I'm treating them right. I've never grown grapes before. This was, I think I already said, this is the second year that I had them. So I'm hoping next year they will produce. But I think the reason they didn't produce this year was because of the beetles. They literally just about eat them up. And over in here, this is our old burn pile. And so I had thrown some vegetables out in here last year. And so I've got a lot of volunteers over in there. I've got Roma tomatoes that have been ripening. You can see those. And so there's a couple other kinds of tomatoes over in there, and so we've just let the weeds kind of grow up around them so that we can hopefully harvest some more tomatoes before the end of the season. This is some more basil. That is the blue spice basil that's growing, and that one has taken over too. You can see it's growing completely out of the box. Oh, and there's another bumblebee. I never cut my flowers down early. The rose bush has had it, but the blooms have been magnificent. Isn't that beautiful? Look how they vary in color. Gorgeous. I can't wait till next year when they're bigger. That tomato's long gone. This is a little box of strawberries that was supposed to have been temporary, and I have a couple tomatoes that will actually be ready to harvest probably tomorrow or the next day. But I never did get my box ready that was going to be my strawberry bed, but I'm going to work on that this fall and then get those on over in it. That's going to be some raspberries. They're not big enough yet. Another rose that I got from Mother's Day. And that long box right there is going to be the strawberry bed next year. And these beds here are overrun. So this is my blackberry bush. It's running over into some basil because they're all overgrown. This blackberry bush and then that raspberry bush will have to be moved out of the way. When I put them there, I didn't realize they got so tall. So they'll have to go back behind the beds over there, and they'll get plenty of sun over there. And these are Soldaki tomatoes that are just overrunning, spilling over out of the bed. I don't know if they will have time to mature or not, but there are some tomatoes down in there somewhere, but none of them are red or even blushing yet. And look how big this bloom is. Is that not gorgeous? That is a zinnia also, if I didn't already say it. That's another grapevine that I have. And again, I think the reason that these did not produce this year was because the beetles just about ate them up. So I'm not going to do a whole lot more trimming on this one. And I'm going to do a lot more research this winter while I'm not so busy in the garden and see if I can get these to produce next year. This is a purple grape, and then the ones I showed you a minute ago are green, and they're all seedless. And these are some things that I tried to start late, but they did not really take hold. This is red corn, and you can see Do you see that little bulge there? That's where it tried to go ahead and produce an ear. So I need to do some research on that too. I don't know if it's related to the number of hours of sun that it gets or what causes it to go ahead and produce an ear, but it tried way too soon. Those were cucumbers. I thought I might be able to get to maturity, but they have not done anything. This is some ginger that is ready to harvest, so I'm anxious to see what that is going to be. And I'll do a quick video whenever I harvest that. You can see it there. So I'm anxious to see how much ginger we get. There's another blue spice basil. Those are everywhere. And this is my raspberry bush, and this thing is producing again. It produced in the spring, and this particular type of raspberry gets a second flush, and you can see it's got berries all over it. Some of them actually need to be pulled off and thrown away because they've been on there too long, because I haven't been doing my job. So I need to get out here and catch up, get rid of the old ones, and start harvesting the good ones. And last but not least, it is another volunteer tomato. This is also the sunrise bumblebee, and it is growing out of the mulch pile. That's what that is. And it's just growing everywhere. And you can see the tomatoes that are everywhere. And actually, this looks like another ginger. And I bet that it is. I must have thrown a piece of it over here or something. So you can bet I'll be harvesting that too. I love volunteers. So that is it, guys. It is starting to get dark out here, which is pretty sad. It is only 6:48 and it's starting to get dark. Of course, it's a little cloudy today too. So anyway, the light is pretty poor, but I just wanted to jump on here and do a quick video and catch you all up on what's going on in the garden. So I hope to see you all whenever I harvest some ginger. Y'all have a great day. God bless you.